Hello, my name is Nick Lanky and I'm one of the team at Inspire to Change. Right now, we're dealing with an unprecedented set of circumstances and we're adjusting to a new way of life because of this global pandemic we're all having to deal with. For those people that are already struggling with illness and in particular anxiety and depression, they may be experiencing more intense feelings at the moment and symptoms that are more severe than they normally experience. This is making it difficult for people to get through their day-to-day functions. And I think stresses over health and the health of our loved ones it is adding to all of those emotions that we all feel in this quandary that we're all in at the moment. So I think it's fair to say that this is a difficult time for most of us. But please remember that you're not alone, and people like me and my colleagues, we're here to try and help you, especially if you're experiencing problems with close relationships, whether they be domestic or interpersonal. If you're feeling isolated and you're in a low mood, it's really good to talk to someone who makes you feel better. So finding that person is really key to success. And even if we can't meet in the ways that we have done in the past, and we've still got these virtual platforms that we're all using in new ways to keep connected, and we hope that you find some of these videos that we're producing useful. It's really helpful to identify somebody that you can trust, I think, at times like this, and a friend that you can rely on and perhaps talk to. Or that friend might just be a professional and somebody that you can talk to if you're feeling anxious, and especially if you have no other support. And myself and the team here at Inspire to Change would love to hear from you if you think we can help in any way. So while we're all quarantined, self-isolating and complying with the government request to stay home and work from home, we really need to keep a mind's eye on our emotional health, which is why me and my colleagues have decided we wanted to share some ideas with you about emotional health. And today I really just want to talk about emotions. So if we start off with, what are emotions? And I think in essence, emotions are an essential part of who we are. And they can be quite messy at times and quite complicated and quite confusing for us all. So knowing how to name emotions and how to talk about emotions, both with ourselves and with other people, is a key part to developing emotional health. Good examples of emotions might be anger, fear, sadness, enjoyment, love. They're all quite common and they seem to be quite sort of just out there for everybody, really. So if we look at enjoyment for a moment and just think about that, people generally like to feel happy. That makes them feel calm, it makes them feel good. We might express these feelings by smiling, laughing, or just indulging ourselves, really. We might feel enjoyment if we're close to people that we're connected with and that we care about. Difficult at the moment, isn't it? We might feel safe and secure. We might be doing something that triggers pleasure for us. We might be absorbed in an activity. We might feel relaxed and at peace. They're all enjoyable. But how do we talk about it? So what are some of the words that might describe different kinds of enjoyment? We might say that there's happiness, there's love, there's relief, there's contentment, there's amusement, there's joy, excitement, peace, satisfaction. The list is endless, really. So if enjoyment and its related feelings feel exclusive or even elusive, is the word I was looking for, try to take a look at other emotions and feelings to see if they're getting in your way. Worry and stress, they're typical ones, I think. If you're low or if you're anxious, these might be problematic for you. So if we look at the opposite end of the spectrum of emotions and we think about sadness, I think it's fair to say that we all feel sadness at some time or other. Sadness might relate to how we feel right now because of the loss we're feeling for our way of life. Everything has changed for us. We're not seeing our families. We're not seeing work colleagues. We can't go to the shops. We can't go to the cinema. We can't go to the pub or the restaurant. We can't even go out for a coffee. So, we're bound to feel a sense of loss, and I think that's really normal at the minute. We need to be able to accept that as normal as well. We clearly can't be close to others. There are even rules in regard to proximity at the moment. Stay 2 meters apart, we keep getting told. So it's a really, really complicated time. If you think of the words that we use to describe sadness, these are very different to the list we used earlier when we discussed enjoyment. We might describe feelings of being lonely, of being heartbroken, being disappointed, feeling hopeless, being unhappy, being lost, being troubled, or miserable. Sadness can be hard to shake, but depending on your situation, it might be a good idea to try and shake it off. And again, talking to people, talking things through, talking about emotions, because we do all have them, believe it or not, even as guys, and we need to find a way of expressing those and sharing how we feel with other people, because I think that's really, really key to our emotional well-being and our health. So if sadness lingers or begins to become problematic for you, please seek help. And there are a wealth of services out there. You've only got to go on Google, on your phone, on the internet, and just type in where you live and look for services that can support you in any way, whether it be mental health, whether it be domestic abuse, whether it be concerns about children, about health. NHS, a fantastic website full of resources. Government website, gov.uk, again, full of resources and lots of local links for different areas of the country. So I think it's really important that when we think about emotions and stuff, that we have to accept that these are really complicated and often intense feelings that we have. And just now, there are lots and lots of conflicting emotions that we're having. I think it's important to recognise that emotions do, however, serve a purpose, even when they're negative. So instead of trying to change the emotions that we're experiencing, I think it'd be more helpful if we could learn to react to them. It's usually our self-restrictions that create challenges for us, not the emotions themselves. So, and if we think about our bodies and what happens to them when we feel emotions, I think it's quite clear that emotions do affect us quite physically. So again, another good reason to try and do something about how we might be feeling and what emotions we might be experiencing. So when we're angry, our heart begins to race. We get hot, our faces flush. Some people might say that they get butterflies in their stomach or they even shake. And when we're nervous, we may feel that we need to move about more. We become more motivated and animated in what we do. Our eyes start to search round and look about us more. Why do our bodies behave in this way? Well, it's pretty straightforward, really. It's all to do with this fight or flight instinct that we have and our body's ability to sense danger, to read fear, and to produce adrenaline, which helps the blood pump around our bodies and feed our muscles, which makes us stronger. If we're going to fight, we need those muscles to fight with. If we're going to run, we need strong legs, and we need those muscles to work at their full capacity. That's where it all comes from. This is a really, really old behaviour, really. So it's a really good idea to be able to pick up on how we're feeling, when we're feeling a bit hot, when we're feeling a bit shaky, when we're getting wound up, when we're getting angry, these emotions that we feel, especially while we're all confined to home. And we need to look at this and just try and figure out what can we do to manage ourselves, and how can we deal with things before we get too wound up. So right now we have to accept that it's normal to be stressed. So don't be judging yourself about how you might be feeling right now, because most people are stressed right now, and it is understandable and healthy and normal. The first step to coping with emotional anxiety is always recognising it as a normal and vital response. It's a symptom of stress. It alleviates elevates heart rates. Like we discussed before, we have these racing thoughts, we have this racing heart rate. Now, these are all evolved instinctive behaviours. And even though the threats are less tangible, we can't see these things, we can't feel these threats that we're all experiencing at the moment. There is an immediate threat to people out there. We're told about it every day. And there is uncertainty about the future. So we're bound to have all of these emotions that we're feeling at the moment. So if you interpret anxiety as a physiological protective measure, it can sometimes be less scary. Stress tells us that something's not right and that we need to make an adjustment. And because stress is uncomfortable, our temptation is quite often to brush it under the carpet or to pull it in and bottle things up. But from a mental health perspective, we really need to try and recognise stress and the emotional states we're experiencing and manage them. It's important not to judge ourselves right now, but we should be really mindful about our behaviours, which might result in emotional states for people, and how we regulate that and how we manage that. We can manage our behaviours. We always have choices about what we do, even in times like this, as individuals. And we need to be able to look back at times like this and think, I managed that well, I managed myself well, rather than regret some things that may happen. So please, when we're getting angry, and whilst we still need to express it, and it's healthy to express it in one context, we can be worrying, and sometimes we can be punishing to people that are around us and people that might witness us if we have an explosive episode. So it's important that we all try and remain calm and we communicate with our loved ones, and that we have contact with people and talk to professionals that are available to us, and talk to, if you're experiencing relationship problems, talk to us, ring us. The numbers are at the bottom. So during these times, it's important to be kind to ourselves and to those we're in contact with. It's really okay not to be perfect and to be struggling, because we're all struggling at the moment. Again, you are not alone in that at all. So please stay safe, stay home, and the team and me at Aspire to Change, we look forward to hearing from you. If you found this video useful or any of the others useful, please hit the subscribe button at the bottom. We'll keep publishing materials on different topics as time goes on. So we'll see you soon. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.